Hello again, everybody. In the previous video, I talked about romal reins and what I feel is important about it. And I talked a little bit about coastal reins and Doran style reins and what have you. But today I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about the more common romal rein and my take on that. There's a couple of things that I think are real important. First, I want my romal to be fairly stiff. And there's a good reason for that. I want to be able, when I am, trying to move a herd or what have you, and I want to create energy, I want to be able to do that. And, slap my leg and create energy and don't have to do a twirl because my romal is so limber that I just can't do this, if that makes any sense at all. Mainly because if I'm just trying to move a herd or whatever, and I want to do this, I want to make sure that without even having to look at it, I can tap my leg or my shaft, whatever I'm wearing that day, and hit it. I don't want to accidentally do something with my romal and hit my horse. That wouldn't be fair if I would hit my horse for no reason at all or unintended, what have you, because that is going to confuse my horse in the future, and he might even develop some kind of an anxiety when I do this. And when he sees that romal go, he might expect that it might hurt him or, surprise him, whatever. However, I use my romal to reinforce my hand. I think as horsemen, the days of just, jerking on a horse are behind us. I think if we ask for the horse in his face and the horse wants to root out or, just ignore our signal, then we reinforce our hand not by jerking or pulling harder, but by using our feet. By the same token, if I push with my leg and I don't get their desired response, and I turn my toe out and I push with my spur, and I still don't get the desired response, or even the horse will be leaning against my leg or against my spur, I just won't take my foot over and harpoon him. I will more than likely take my romal and tap him on, the rib cage or the hip or the shoulder, whatever it is I want to move. That is also why we use a lot of quirts at the ranch. Like when in a snaffle or in a hackamore, and we're trying to convey something to our horse. We don't want to get him afraid of the spur. We just reinforce our leg with our hand with a quirt in that case. What it also does is you get a lot more quiet tail on your horse. Because I see, especially in the horse shows, a lot of horses where the rider is working his legs and then the tail goes frantic. And it takes away from the overall picture. What also takes away, in my particular case, from the overall picture is a deadened tail, where they block the tail from being overactive or what have you. So in order to obtain that stiffness, I pretty much make my romals the same as I would my posolitas. So in here, I got a rawhide twisted core with a plastic tape around it to keep moisture out and you know, to preserve the integrity of the cord. And then braid around it. In this case, it's like a 12 flat, and put the buttons on it. Also, to me, real important is I want that popper to be fixed both on my romals and on my quirts, because I want to know where that popper is at all times. And you know, when I start slapping my leg or whatever, or my horse needs some assistance in, you know, being a little more active in the shoulder, I can tap him on the shoulder and know exactly where that popper is. That's one thing. Another thing is, on most of my, let's call them common type reins, I use a leather connector. And this one's got some rawhide buttons on it, like here and stuff. That's not at all necessary, but it may be leather buttons, whatever. But I like the look of it. And most of all, it doesn't affect me. A lot of times when you are out and you were working, or even in the show pen, this works with me. You know, no matter what happens, it kind of works with me. Where rawhide, once you get to this situation, it might start to fight you. And I don't think there's anything more ridiculous than fighting your own money or fighting your own work. So that's why. Another thing that when I'm on horse shows that a lot of people comment me about is the width of my reins. I got, you know, pretty small hands, and I like a light rein. Not necessarily in weight, but in diameter. I also like the square reins. They just fit better, and especially when we got to work the rope and you go like this, I don't have to double up because I did the measurements on my rein, and it's in this position long enough to have my hand up here so I can have the coils of my rope, and they'll be out of the way for me to dally if I catch on to something. So to me, those are important things. Another thing that I get questions about, or people go like, those itty bitty thin leather strips that you attach your reins to your chain with. Well, I feel, and it's the same with the width, if I need to have a dead grip on my rein and really need to pull on my horse in a way that this, you know, little diameter rein is going to be slipping to my hand, or this little leather is going to break, then I feel I skipped a couple of steps in the snaffle bit or the hackamore or even the two rein stages, and I need to go back, fix that, so it optimized my communication with my horse. I can do it like I did it on this pair. I got another pair of reins here, and I got a little longer attachment on it because this is a fairly short chain and I needed a bit more distance, so I got these little leather hobbles that I made. And you see, leather's not real thick, but it's thick enough for good communication. And when I were to break these, I need to go back and do some more homework in the early stages of establishing communication with my horse. The other thing is, let's say I'm working horn cattle, be it in the show pen or on the ranch, or the rein gets hung up on a branch or whatever. I'd rather have this piece will let her break, then my horse's mouth be damaged. So those two reasons. Now, if you show reining, we all like to show with a little bit of slack. I'm not saying a big old drape. If you can do that, that's fine and dandy. But I don't think that the romal rein was designed to ride with a big old drape. You can ride it with slack, but not with a big old drape. So if I ride it with slack, then I don't want to use rein chains. I use a longer rein. And this particular set was made for me by Betty Fruins. But here's a couple of things. Like in the National Reining Horse Association, or the American Quarter Horse Association, I'm pretty sure for the American Paint Horse Association, probably for all others, but I'm not familiar with their rule books. It says that for reining, you have to have 16 inches between your rein hand and your free hand holding the romal. Well, guess what? Here's, for me, another purpose for the two rein button. Originally, this button was on your reins so you could keep track where you were in your two rein stage, which basically, if this button would be all the way up here, you know, you'd have it like this and you'd have pretty much do all your work on the Bussolita Makati reins. And when you start introducing a little more signal from your rattle bit, you put it down. So now I'm working both, maybe a little more on the Makati than on the rattle rein, and I can move it down and then get the first signal on the rattle bit, and then the more I work, I can help the horse out with my Makati rein. But the second purpose is from here, my last button, to here, I measured it out. It's exactly 16 inches. And why is that important? Because when you show reining in National Reining Horse Association or American Quarter Horse or American Paint Horse, the rule says you need 16 inches between both hands. Now, I see a lot of people that don't want to take any risk, and they go around like this. Probably not with a romal as stiff as this one, but they kind of look like a gunsel. So I want to go like this, and as long as I'm not going over this button, I know that there's always 16 inches between my two hands minimum. The other thing why I want the stiffer romals, oh, and that 16 inches rule does not exist in National Rein Cow Horse Association. But in Rein Cow Horse Association, when you're in your dry work or in the hurt work or going down the fence, it's okay to, you know, take a little more rein and use that romal to slide the rein through your hand. Now, I think the best poachers make the best game wardens. And I myself, I'm a pretty good poacher. I think I know every cheating rule or method in the book. And that's why a lot of people hate me when I'm judging, because when I think I probably would have done that, focus of my eye goes to that, and if they do cheat, a lot of times I'll catch them. But here's another thing. If I have a stiffer romal and I can't do this in an AQHA reining or an NRHA reining, now look, especially if I got the judge behind me, like when I'm in my circles or whatever, or I'm riding away from him. See? I did not move my arm at all. I just moved my wrist a little. And took a lot of rain. You know, again, don't do it when I'm in the chair, because I do it myself. I know the trick, and I will catch you. And for the time being, you cannot do that. If that rule changed, that's going to be something completely different. And I don't know where this rule came from, because originally the ones that did use the romal, being the California vaqueros, that came up with the sport of working cow horse. Because originally, the National Range Cow Horse Association used to be called the California Range Cow Horse Association, because it was the California method. And originally, they didn't even have a snaffle bit stage. It was only a hackamore, a two rein, or straight up in a bridle. It's only when they started the fraternity that Bobby Ingersoll came up with the idea of having a snaffle bit class. So, that being said, I think I kind of covered most of what I wanted to cover. So, have a good day, y'all. If you like what I'm doing, or you like these videos, hit the like button and subscribe button, and have a nice day, y'all.